Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Happy weekend. Thank you so much for joining me in today's video. Thank you so much to all the new subscribers. Thanks to you, we have now reached 20,000 subscribers, and I think that is worth celebrating. So I am here today to celebrate this huge milestone with you. Never in a million years would I have thought that this would be possible, but here we are. So I hope if you are new to this channel and you like what you see, that you will stick around a little bit more as we continue to explore watercolors and doodles and hopefully other things in the near future. I have now been on YouTube for a little over 3 years, and during those 3 years I have taught myself a lot about watercolors, and I have also learned a lot from everyone out there that is contributing to sharing their techniques and giving insight into what they have learned. And I thought it would be time for me to do the same for you. I understand that some of you are just here for the artwork, so by all means, if you don't want to listen to my voice talking over this video, just mute me. That's totally fine by me. Some of you might recognize this design, and that is because I have already done something similar a few weeks ago in blue, green, purplish. But I really wanted to do a few more of these, and don't worry, I'm not going to film and post all of them on my channel. But as I was working on this particular one, I decided that I wanted to talk a little bit more about techniques and maybe give you a little more information on what I personally find easy to work with. Some of you might be intimidated working with watercolors, and I totally get that. I felt the same when I first started out. However, I have learned over the years not to put pressure on myself and letting mistakes be part of the painting. And that is the first tip that I want to give anybody that is new to watercolors. First of all, a blank piece of paper can be super intimidating, and a way to remedy that is to just put some colors down without having any idea about what you want to do, or be super specific with how you put those colors down. And that is why I found this technique here with the negative painting such a great idea. Once those first colors are on the paper, the hardest part is already over. And this is where abstract painting comes into play. Personally, I have always been more drawn to abstract art, but for some reason, when I started painting, I totally forgot about it, and I felt like I needed to stick to more realistic subjects in order to learn how to watercolor properly. once I made the switch to abstract art and doodling, that completely changed, and I found it so much more relaxing to paint this way. If you are not into abstract art, then don't worry. What I would suggest in that case is to stick with something that you can find in nature, be it flowers, be it foliage, be it rocks, whatever lends to a more loose approach. I find that things that you can find in nature generally are not perfect always. And so, with that in mind, you are hopefully allowing yourself to not be perfect either. Allowing yourself to make mistakes in the beginning is crucial in learning how to work with a specific medium, because chances are you're not going to be perfect right away. And so knowing that and allowing yourself to make mistakes and to have your lines be a little bit crooked and uneven also helps you loosen up and enjoy the process of learning and figuring out how this medium works for you. Also, with something simple as I'm doing here, you might not feel the need to take a break, but that is another great tip that I can give you. If you're feeling stuck, then just step away from your project and do something completely different. And I can almost guarantee you that by the time you come back, you can look at your piece and know exactly how to proceed. Let's talk about watercolor techniques. There is so many different ways that you can apply watercolors, and each one has its own purpose. Here, I am mainly showing you how I apply watercolor on a dry surface. As a general rule, if you want precise lines, your paper needs to be dry. In this case, after I finished the background layer, I let my paper completely dry before I continued. I like to let my paper dry naturally, but you can also use a hairdryer and speed up the process. For my second layer, you may have noticed that my paint was a lot more watery, and that allows you to merge the colors together a little bit better, and it gives you more blurred lines, and that is exactly what I wanted. And so that is called wet in wet. And that is a great technique if you want to just explore watercolors and see what they do. And yes, there is a thing as too much water in watercolor, but I am not going to go into that in this video. Now let's talk about supplies. Art materials can be very expensive, and you don't need to break your bank in order to create art. The suggestions I am telling you next come from personal experience. That means that every artist feels differently. But what I found is that you don't have to spend a lot of money on your watercolors per se. If you can find a cheap watercolor set, that will be good enough in the beginning. The only thing I would like to add here is that I would personally stay away from dollar store watercolors because they're just very chalky and they can be a little bit frustrating to work with. Next is the paper. I also would not spend a ton of money on expensive watercolor paper if you're just starting out. I worked with a very inexpensive Canson watercolor paper in the beginning, and that was just fine. You don't want to feel precious about your materials. That is the whole point that I'm trying to make here. If you are scared of using your materials because you think you're wasting it, then you're never gonna start. And the last thing for art materials I want to talk about is brushes. Let me tell you right away, this is where I would spend most of my money on. There is nothing more frustrating than a brush that doesn't do what it needs to be doing for what you want it to do. It took me so long to find the perfect watercolor brushes. And the brushes that I have been using most recently have made all the difference. Now that is 3 years of experimenting what kind of brushes work well for me. The ones that I am using, I have listed in the description box below the video. If you want, you can go and have a look and see what they are. I don't mean for you to purchase them through my link. If you want to, by all means, go ahead, but it is not necessary. Because they can get very expensive, I would look for deals. Blix always has a good deal on watercolor brushes, and they have a huge selection. And the last Princeton brushes that I have purchased, I got from Michael's, and I got 3 and I got 2 for free. So that was 5 watercolor brushes for the price of 3, and that is an incredible deal. Unfortunately, my Michael's doesn't always have a great selection, and when they do have what I want, sometimes the bristles are so frayed because people touch them and they don't pay attention to how they put them back. And so you just have to be very careful and make sure that you get what you pay for. And I think the last thing I want to touch on in this video is technique. Once you figured out your style, and by figuring out your style, I don't mean you have to hone in exactly what you want to be doing for the rest of your life, because trust me, once you start learning about watercolors, you will find that you want to explore everything. If you want to explore this type of art that I'm doing here, then just get a few fine liner pens. They don't have to be waterproof, they don't have to be archival, just a good set of fine liner pens that won't be frustrating for you to use. If you're having trouble drawing straight lines or getting the perfect circle done, then abstract doodles are the way to go for you. because wonky lines and imperfect circles give your doodles a lot of charm. And so that is something that will take the stress away from what you're trying to do, which is hopefully relax and just have fun with what you're creating. Naturally, there are so many things I could be talking about, and I just don't have time to include everything into one video. But if there's something that you're interested in that you want me to go over, please leave me a comment. And also, if you would like to add something to what I have mentioned, also leave a comment, because there's always people that are in need of more answers. And just because I haven't mentioned it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So we are all learning from each other. I hope you found today's video helpful, and it will finally make you take out those art supplies that you have been hoarding over the years and start creating something. I'm a firm believer that art can be healing, it can be relaxing, it can relieve stress, or it can just be fun as well. And so, however you're feeling today and wherever you are in the world, I hope you stay creative. And I will see you next Friday with a new video.